Alright guys, hope you're well. So, it's time. It has been a month and our eucalyptus blossom mead has been brewing away and it's looking a little bit different than when we started. It is looking a lot lighter. A lot of that eucalyptus blossom has kind of fallen out into a layer of sediment and this is what we're left with. It actually looks pretty damn good. Very tasty, but it's not done. You're right guys, hope you're well. So, my plan today was to do a bottling and tasting video, but the days are getting colder, almost as if we're coming into sort of autumn winter time. There is actually frost in the morning outside now, so it's pretty cold, so fermentation has slowed a bit. Well, I'm not using heat belts as one of the things I don't want to use because it's not really needed. It's just going to take alcohol a bit longer to make, brew, finish, all that stuff. So instead of doing what my plan was, we're going ahead with a different video. Honeydew mead. Now, I was having a look on the old YouTube. Can't find anyone that's actually made it, and I was speaking to someone. Sorry, I can't remember your name, but I do remember the conversation, and they brewed a honeydew mead, and they said it tasted like soap. That doesn't sound very appealing, so I'm going to be using half a kilo of honeydew. It's around 4 or 5 pounds for 500 grams. Now, because I'm cool and I'm me, I wanted to mix that in with some other honey that didn't really have a lot of flavor. Not clear honey. You know, the value honey that I did the value mead from, where I caramelized it and all that stuff to give it more extra oomph. Worked out really well. Now this honey is quite mild and it's there for the sugars. It has a slight floral taste once it's fermented. But hopefully if I mix these both together, I'll end up with something that does not taste like soap. So I recommend, just putting it out there, that you wait to see the results of this video before trying it. Because, well, we could just make expensive soap tasting mead. That sounds lovely. Anyway, let's do this. So before we begin, I suppose I should really try the honey. I bought it, I've been wanting to do this, so let's open it for the first time. Crack the seal, and I'm just going to have a little sample. Just a little bit. Oh yes. Nothing too crazy. Let's see what it tastes like. That's really tasty. So it has a full honey flavor. Really good. And the darker honeys kind of have a sort of treacle, molasses, golden syrup. Like texture, really, really good. Not what I was expecting. Anyway, I don't move that spoon out the way, I'm not using it again. It has a really nice flavor to it. I can't argue with it, it is very tasty. Now I already know what this tastes like. It tastes like light honey. Kind of flavorless, but a very slight flavor. This is for. So hopefully mixing these both together, I should end up with a kind of medium honey. This has got a lot of flavor, very tasty flavor, and this doesn't have that much, so put them both together, I should end up with something in the middle. That's the idea. So now I've eaten it, let's brew it before I put it on toast. Just checking my demijohn. It smells fresh but not bleachy. Let's begin. Oh yeah. This can take a minute. In it goes. Ah, sacrilege. Right, now most of the honey is out of these jars. I've got some hot water that I'm going to use to clean out the rest of the honey in these jars. shake it like you mean it. Easy done. Now, let's start diluting this lovely honey. There we go. So at the minute, it doesn't really matter how much hot water you add in. I'm going about there, just enough to get the honey to mix with the water. Since we're going to be adding cold water to this part, not so much of a problem. So I am going to add in my yeast nutrients since I'm going to be shaking the living life out of this. Now, unlike normal, I will use 1 whole teaspoon of nutrient. I'm only adding in half a teaspoon. It will become apparent in a minute what I'm up to. So, put the lid on this, and now mix in the honey. That seems to be mixed. Now I need to top it up with some nice cold water, just to get it to a nice, easy pitching temperature. I'm going to use my kettle. Just going to go ahead and top this up with cold water. So I'm just going to give it another shake to mix in the cold water with the warm water. Make sure it's all even. Now I'm going to give it a few minutes just to settle out some of the foam so we can check it with a hydrometer. Should be plenty. Now we're just going to let this foam die down a bit. So I've given this a few minutes to die back, and the foam is dying back, so I'm going to put in the hydrometer. So there is roughly just under 1.2 kilos of honey that I added in. Lovely clean hydrometer. And in she goes. This is going to take a few minutes to die back. So most of the foam has died back enough for me to see the hydrometer, and it is reading right at the 12% mark. And I've got this lovely that tastes really good. So the 12% mark is 1.074-ish. Put that in there. So it tastes pretty damn fine. Now I did only add in half a teaspoon of nutrient. This is going to stunt the yeast very slightly. It is a little bit of a risky thing to do because, well, you can produce off flavors, but because there's going to be residual sweetness in here, the small amount of off flavors that can happen, not necessarily will happen, you won't be able to taste. Pretty handy to know. Now, to reinforce my sweetness that I'm going to get from this mead, I'm using an ale yeast. Oh yes, I've started using ale yeast in my lower alcohol sweet meads. This is because, well, all kind of ale yeasts are kind of selective. They only ferment shorter chains of sugars. So things like maltose and lactose and all that type of stuff, they do not ferment, making sure you end up with residual sweetness. So in goes my ale yeast. And in theory, that's us done. So hopefully this will finish somewhere around 110. That's what I'm expecting. In theory. We will see if that actually turns out. I've said it now. It's got a... my reputation is on the line. Sure, why not? But that's us done. That is us done. So, hopefully we will find out in the next part if this mead is drinkable, if it tastes like soap. If it doesn't taste like soap and we end up with a sweetie mead, it tastes very nice, we'll have to do some more experimentation with the honeydew honey. Pretty cool. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check out some of the other ones, and well, subscribe if you feel like it. You're in Homebrew, guys. See ya. So I just want to take a second to thank my patrons. They're helping me grow the channel, upgrade my equipment, all of that fantastic stuff. And as a thank you to them and for future patrons, I also do 4 Patreon-only videos per month. So it's pretty handy if you want a little bit extra. So there's some other links to videos down below, and of course the Patreon and subscribe button. Don't forget to check those out. See ya.